Good morning and welcome to a fresh edition of your breakfast show on Leadership Television Inside Nigeria. Today is Monday, June 24, 2024, and my name is Winifred Ubebo, your host on the program. In this first segment of the show, we have some papers, national papers, for review of their front headline stories, including Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership. We start off with Leadership. Main headline story today on Leadership: cost of living. CSOs experts demand pay rise for soldiers. Cost of living. CSOs, that is civil society organizations, experts demand pay rise for soldiers. NANS may intervene, says Senate spokesperson. Federal government already working on it, defense headquarters. Of course, we have an illustration of the main headline story beneath it. Let's take it one after the other. Between 52,000 to 57,000 naira are salaries of some soldiers. Soldiers engage in trade to survive. Soldiers forced into corruption. Soldiers forced into exploitation. This captures the main headline story today: cost of living. CSOs experts demand pay rise for soldiers. The story runs on page 8 of Leadership. And above that, we have Northern Elders Law 2025 timeline for gas pipeline project. The story is on page 8 of Leadership. Bandits kill 7 persons in Katsina. 2027, no plan to dump Obi, Labour Party declares. Alake presents goal to Tinubu, says reforms will boost economy. Varsities order still on IPs, says ASU. The story is on page 10 of Leadership. Of course, this is a developing story on the heels of ASU threatening strike in coming weeks. Varsities order still on IP, says ASU. Of course, it has also been one of the bone of contention between ASU and the federal government for them to be removed from IPs. Moving ahead, we have on the business boss, Idris unveils writing for media and monetizing it on Wednesday. Writing for Media and Monetizing It is a book publication by the editor-in-chief of Leadership Media Group, Azui Siekwene. Of course, it's on for unveiling this Wednesday. VP Shetima expected as Nida Azaya hosts Amuka, Yusuf, Oloruyomi, other icons. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, will chair the unveiling of Writing for Media and Monetizing It, the new book on getting rewards from valuable content written by the editor-in-chief of Leadership, Azui Siekwene, and published by Premium Times Books. That's just the second 2 paragraphs of that story. Above the masthead of Leadership, bandits display 600 villagers, seize farmlands in Niger. Dangote accuses IOCs of plotting refineries failure. Dangote accuses IOCs of plotting refineries failure. IOCs refers to international oil companies. The story runs on page 29 of Leadership, and with that we move to the page 3 where we have our stand. Our stand is on Nigeria's perennial flood crisis. Nigeria's perennial flood crisis. The rains are here, and of course, as expected, NIMET has already warned of flooding in some select states of the country. From the outstand, we move to the back page, national Monday column with Dakuku Peter's side. Dakuku Peter's side is writing on Beyond National Profligacy. Beyond National Profligacy, the Monday column with Dakuku Peter's side. Today, June 24, 2024. For continuation of this Monday column, the inside stories, the editorial, and the continuation of headline stories, we log on to the website of Leadership, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, we move to its sister publication, National Economy. National Economy is a weekly business paper on the stable of Leadership Media Group. And this week's main headline story says, minimum wage, Labour's 250,000 demand unsettles federal government, states, private sector. Minimum wage, Labour's 250,000 naira demand unsettles federal government, states, private sector. Fiscal realities will make demand unrealistic, experts. Beneath that, climate change challenges and Nigeria's push to develop hydroelectricity. It's a story that runs on page 19 of national economy. And above the masthead, Nigeria secures $3.5 billion deal with Afrexim Bank for Texas CNG vehicles. Federal government seeks extension for World Bank's $800 million palliative loan. The story is on page 4 of national economy. For continuation of these headline stories, inside stories, the editorial on national economy this week, log on to the website www.nationaleconomy.com. From national economy, we move to the next paper on our menu, and that is Daily Sun. Daily Sun says Tinubu goes after civil servants earning salaries without working. Tinubu goes after civil servants earning salaries without working. Fingers people living outside Nigeria but still on federal government's payroll. Says affected persons to refund illegally earned wages to government coffers. The main headline story today, and of course we have the picture there with also the story Fire God's Christ Embassy Church headquarters in Lagos. It was a story that trended in the early hours of yesterday. Fire God's Christ Embassy Church headquarters in Lagos. The story runs on page 5 of Daily Sun. You can see below of smoke as Fire God's Christ Embassy headquarters, the Oregon, Lagos, the photo caption on the cover of Daily Sun. Nigeria Labour Congress kicks against decentralization of minimum wage negotiations. NLC kicks against decentralization of minimum wage negotiations. 15 states to witness flooding warns federal government. NDLEA busts snake-guarded shrine used to store illicit drugs. Arrest 2 in Edo. Nam 76-year-old grandfather in Abuja. Government kidnap monarch's oddly driver in Rivers. Recapitalization set to slam fine on non-compliant financial institutions. Reps write Tinubu seek Nnamdi Kanu's release. Federal government to construct 2,000 more renewed hope cities, estates in 8 states. Cholera outbreak, avoid kunu, zobo, fura de nono, others, says minister. And the last story beside the masthead on Daily Sun today says Dangote accuses IOCs of planning to sabotage refinery operations. Says issuance of import license by NMDPRA threat to investment. This concludes the review of leading stories, main headline stories today on Daily Sun newspaper. For more, log on to www.sunnynewsonline.com. From Daily Sun, Vanguard newspaper is next. Vanguard says textile industry faces total collapse as revival efforts fail. Textile industry faces total collapse as revival efforts fail. Sector's GDP contribution in steady decline. 96.5% of textile products in Nigerian market imported. Market flooded with faked fabrics from China. Enforce Executive Order 003, man Labour tell government. Federal government unveils $3.5 billion revamp plan to create 20,000 jobs. The kickers for the main headline story, textile industry faces total collapse as revival efforts fail. Beneath that, Labour to governors on minimum wage, rescue Nigeria from state of resentment, misery. Civil servants collecting salaries after relocating abroad must refund money. Federal government, the story that it was trending yesterday. Tinubu, President Bola Tinubu goes top on civil servants who relocate abroad and still collect salaries from the coffers of the federal government. Tinubu says they must return the money even after relocating abroad. Beneath that, NIBSS appoints leaders for AfriGoPay to drive Nigeria's card scheme. And in sports, Rangers crowned NPFL champions to hold trophy presentation today. Still on Vanguard newspaper, Dangote accuses IOCs of plotting failures of its refinery. Nigerian pilgrims starving in Saudi Arabia, Governor Bago. Nigerian pilgrims starving in Saudi Arabia, Governor Bago of Niger State. 2027, Obi is still our candidate. Labour Party insists. The story runs on page 32 of Vanguard. And the last story on the cover today of Vanguard is the story above the masthead. Art icons reminisce about good old Nigeria is on Arts page 13 of Vanguard. Of course, with that, we conclude the review of Vanguard front headline stories today, Monday, June 24, 2024. For continuation of these headline stories, log on to their website, www.vanguardngr.com. From Vanguard, we move to the last paper we have on our menu, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian's main headline story: CBN stress test forex market reform stops BDC funding. CBN stress test forex market reform stops BDC funding. Apex Bank trades quick fixes for long-term confidence building. Guadabe lack of clarity in new guidelines fueling fresh panic. Moody's government to spend 36% revenue on interest. MPC commits to 21.4% long-term inflation target. Cholera. APC chieftain warns governors against diversion of 260 billion naira PHC's fund. NIBSS announces new CEO, Afrigo Pay COO. The story is on business page 22. Argon NULGE bicker over police occupation of Rivers Council Secretariat. The story is on page 8 of The Guardian. Bago, the Niger State Governor, Nakon differ on poor handling of 2024 Hajj death of pilgrims. Price of rice soars by over 180% in 12 months. Beans hits 219%. Is on news page 5 of The Guardian. Price of rice soars by over 180% in 12 months. Beans hits 219%. Customs queries NAFDAC over unregistered drugs. On the editorial, diffuse over return to old national anthem. The Guardian newspaper is still dwelling on the return to old national anthem. That forms the editorial today in the paper and is on page 16. National Assembly under pressure on new minimum wage law compliance. National Assembly under pressure on new minimum wage law compliance. Labour Party insists on Obi as 2027 presidential candidate. And with that, we move to the story above the masthead of The Guardian, which is the last one for review today. And it says Dangote accuses IOCs of manipulating crude oil prices, plotting refineries failure. The story came about as a result of the meeting between business editors and Dangote Group over the weekend. Dangote accuses IOCs of manipulating crude oil prices, plotting refineries failure. With that, we conclude the review of Guardian front headline stories today. For more, log on to www.guardian.ng. And with that, also, we conclude the first half of this program, Inside Nigeria. Don't forget to join us for the second half of the program, where we'll have our guest coming in. Stay tuned. Yes, welcome back to the second half of the segment of the show, Inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Global once again, and of course, I have my modern guest in the house. It's a PhD holder and political economist. Is also public affairs analyst. Aliyu Elias. Thank you so much. It's always a
Thank you for
pleasure to have you
having
in
me.
the program. Yeah, how have you been?
Well, I've been well.
Okay. We are still on. Okay, let's look at trending story. The trending story over the weekend is on Dangote, because Dangote is feeling frustrated over the refinery's inability to start. We like to call it refining crude oil. Initially, he said it was not getting enough, and federal government had to even import from US. But however, over the weekend, he said he accused international oil companies of plotting failure of his refinery in Nigeria. So what is happening here?
I think it's quite expected that once you want to enter into a particular industry,
Terrain.
there's always a cover. I can also tell you that he also needs to take his experience to work there, because if you look at cement industry now today,
I don't
he
think you are
has
going
actually
where. Are you going
he
to
is
my thought?
actually the main person for there's no Benue, Ashaka, all this Boham,
Ibeto,
Ibeto. It is now Dangote
the
cement.
cement.
So also he also abused his power
Okay,
in that
that's
area.
what. Oh my
So
God! You just took the words out of my mouth, because that's
so
what many people are saying, that
so
he's
for
already
the
crying foul, so that the
exactly.
federal government.
So now
But I was saying that this one is not actually is because he was also accusing of these DSI houses of importing a fake, part of this allegation. They went to the
exactly.
company. I was like, well, many people have not actually complained, save for the last time that we had this
Yes, that
adulteration.
complaint.
And be that as it may, I was also of the opinion that this time around, has PIA not taking care of it?
Right. What I
Because
actually think is that Dangote is trying to justify how much it's going to sell for us, and is actually bringing that in front. He's a businessman and he's
yes,
there to make profit. So he's actually saying that they are selling high for him so that he will not be able to sell cheap for Nigeria. So that simply means that if you now say this is my cost, I'm selling it,
selling it.
Nigeria will now justify that. Oh, he has actually cried earlier. But I must tell you this: this is a private business, and every business know how to navigate.
Navigate.
If he can navigate to build that thing up to that
Refinery, he can
level,
also
I think he can also navigate. But be that as it may, federal government should support every business in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It is to their own best interest. In fact, beyond federal government, ECOWAS must support Dangote now. Africa as a continent must also support Dangote, simply because it is our own. It's going to be economic benefit to us in terms of this dollar naira we are having now. If we have robust exports from Dangote, it is going to be of benefit to Nigerians and also to ECOWAS. No any known refinery privately owned in West Africa. In fact, in Africa, and the level at which he's going to produce is going to be high. So I think Nigerians should support. Meanwhile, you should expect those kaba and you should find way of dealing with those kaba.
Okay.
But if you want to deal with those kaba, you should go and work with presidents of countries. I think they can actually support it because it's to their own. And perhaps it's a good player of the federal government. If you ask me, it's the best
when this issue
person
came
that
out,
knows
I
how
was
to
like,
handle federal
just like
government.
what you mentioned, cement. I said,
Right.
is he still expecting that kind of a leeway in this oil
It's
now?
this
Now
more
that
global.
is crying foul.
Right. It is more global now, so you expect much more challenges. He has actually, I listened to him in his interview with
No, even the local oil marketers, is he expecting that? Because he also raised the
But he
alarm that
said
they were
he
importing.
expected, but not to this level. He said so.
Okay, that it was they were importing fake fuel. Is he expecting that federal government will stop them from importing fuel?
That's it.
And so that
No, he has actually enjoyed some benefits.
Yes.
For sugar, Dangote said they are the only export. Remember, it was having issue with Zibua.
Yes.
They were having issue. For cement, it's taking the lead in Africa. So maybe he expects such soft landing. So I think he should brace up and expect. The more you move, the more you expect the challenges. So I think he should expect. So for him, he should focus on his programs, and he should not also do us what we call abracadabra in development. Why do I say that? Is that while he's complaining, it might be a precursor for him to increase the price in Nigeria. So I think it should balance. But for me, I think federal government should support, because if you look at South Africa, all their businesses is being followed by their their country government. Look at MTN, look at DSTV. The country is following them, and even look at multinationals. If you look at multinationals, Coca-Cola, for instance, the company, the parent-owned company, He's even using them as a tool. So they're always backing it. So I think federal government led by President Tinubu should also support him when needed.
Okay, but we don't want a situation whereby we have a monopoly again in this.
It's a monopoly already. By design, it's a monopoly. Do you have any other person who owns refinery? Do you have any other person who can refine? I think Boa is coming up,
Yes,
but
Boa
for
is
now,
coming.
it's still a monopoly.
Okay.
Yes, because it's also benefiting that no African country is having such. So people will stop importing. They will always come to say it's a monopoly already. It's just for him to manage.
But he
the
didn't
monopoly.
announce that by July, mid-July 18th or 17th, that he was going to start rolling out.
You know that PMS
Refined
is
crude.
always not easy to
Yes,
come by
come by.
because now he is producing diesel, gas, aviation fuel, but diesel is, PMS is going to take time. So we hope when it pick up, Nigeria will benefit. Perhaps it will bring a reduction to the price. That's what we are expecting.
Okay, because the many people are saying that with him crying foul that marketers are importing fake fuel into the country, is he expecting federal government to now ban importers from importing fuel so that at the end of the day he will be the only one?
You know, there is this conspiracy that actually killed our refinery. Before, it was said that the Nigerian refinery are given producing fake, bad products, and they now say, okay, hold on, let us keep importing. By the time we keep importing, discover that those ones that are importing is even worse than Nigeria. And before they will go back to the refinery, they are moribund. And that's the problem. So I think that is a game that we need to look at. So he is also saying it to create market for his own. But professionals has actually said it, they have applauded him that his refinery is up to date, standard, and can compete with anyone globally.
Thank you so much. Now that's with that. We are moving to the main headline story today on leadership. Leadership says cost of living. CSOs experts demand pay rise for soldiers. And senior spokesman said NAS may intervene, while the defense reporter says that the federal government is already working on it. And it's so appalling to say that the take-home pay of some salaries of some soldiers is actually between 52,000 and 57,000. And these are people that are on the front line.
It's quite appalling that they receive as low as this because look at even the present Nigerian economy. Imagine a soldier in Borno that his family is in Ogun State. With this salary, even cater to his transport, let alone the feeding and water. I think we need to do more for them because it's critical. If you look at what leadership analyze beautifully, he even put the consequence there that if they fail to collect good salary, so they are forced to do corruption,
forced into exploitation, engage in trade
to survive because you must look for alternative income
to survive.
Because if 52,000 cannot cater to your needs and your family needs, you have to look for alternative. We call it autonomous consumption. So I think they deserve better salary because I was listening to the judiciary and they said they have increased their salary. They are proposing for 300 increment. Nothing bad if a soldier man is collecting 200,000 naira. Because they actually, at this point in time, they are sacrificing a lot for Nigeria. And they are also suffering from even the citizens. So we must also try as much as we want them to remain in their barrack and face the defense, as it were, we should also cater to their needs as expected.
All right, thank you so much. Now, still moving forward, bandits displaced 600 villagers, seized farmlands in Niger. You know, the Governor Bago's predecessor has always raised the alarm that terrorists, ISWAP, have taken control over some communities, local governments in the state, and nobody has really actually given him attention. And now, under this present administration, we are still seeing bandits having sway in Niger State. What is the problem?
I recall when I went to Ushishi in Niger State. So on our way returning, when we get to Zungeru, where we have Zungeru Polytechnics, we saw a lot of people on bikes, like 30. They were coming and they're telling us to go back, that there's an attack. I was now wondering, is it not vigilante that are supposed to save us? They're also running. You know, for that number to be running, that means what those people are bringing is quite superior. I think Niger State is a serious issue, and I think it's an epicenter. I call it epicenter of Boko Haram. It's not easy or bandits, and you know we are a lot. You know, within Niger you can drive 8 hours. 8 hours from one community, one local location to another location. So it gives space for such things to operate. And if you look at the governor, see they should call him farmers governor with the aim to make sure that farm thrive. But farm cannot thrive if this such attack continues, because people will not be able to go to the farm. So I think it's beyond even him now. Federal
Now, would
government
you
must
say that
deploy
military is
more.
fatigued? Because at the end of the day, the more they fight, the more we see
I
more
think
sort of.
it's appear more fatigue, and that's why we said you must use the two way, the kinetic and non-kinetic. Because if you continue to be attacking, they will keep growing, because it's quite profitable for them to kidnap, all these banditry now. So, but you must find a way that before they even do it, you are proactive to tame them. So that's where I think we should go to the source. Who are the people behind these people? Tame them totally, and be consistent in taming them. Because if you are not consistent in taming them, it might be pretty difficult. I think it's beyond even the state, and it's because even the soldiers, they are quite overwhelming. But this fight must not be left for only soldiers. We have police that used to do investigation. We also have DSS, intelligence officers. They can go in there, because I recall when we were much younger, you see a shoemaker rather, around
campus is there.
Campus is there. You know that they are not ordinary. They are, they actually try to. So where are those kind of employment nowadays? I think government should need to do more and look into that direction, because they need to tame these people as early as possible.
And in same Katsina, bandits killed 7 persons.
Katsina, when I was coming, I think I listened to some things. Someone said, now you are taking soldiers and police to Kano because of any tussle.
Okay.
Katsina, beside Kano, is in their need of a lot of security. Because you go to Katsina now, a lot of them cannot sleep in some area.
Yes.
Because in fact, I think these people really overwhelmed that.
Masari's time. Masari was always crying out.
And
it
yes,
was just a little that,
even after Masari rather said they should even approve arms for people in the state.
Masari said it.
So rather also say it. I think we need to look at that very well. So I think the soldiers, they are getting much more. Psychologically, when you fight a war for 10 years and you're not overcoming it, it becomes So these are the things federal government need to change their orientation, encourage them and give them good salary. I think it's very key, because motivation is key, and the best motivation you can give people now is pay rise. Because 52,000 naira for them to feed their family, and remember we go to the same market. We go to the same school. Market. You know everything, nothing special. So 2,000 naira is not enough at all for a Nigerian soldier.
Thank you so much. Now we are moving to other stories, and that is a story on the Vanguard newspaper. Textile industry faces total collapse as revival efforts fail. Meanwhile, national economy, Nigeria secures $3.5 billion deal with Afrexim Bank for textile CNG vehicles. Are we going to be able to revive this Nigeria's textile industry? Because all efforts to revive it, as Vanguard has stated, has continued to fail. And this on the backdrop of imports too of textiles.
You see, first and foremost, to revive textile industry, Nigeria must ban importation of textile.
Yes.
That is the first. Because you know why? We have what we call economic of scale. Have you seen Adire produced in China? That's a problem. Adire, this thing they used to produce in Ogun State.
Okay, China produces it too.
They produce Adire from China now. So by the time
I thought it was Nigeria's
in Ogun State now, you have to use a kind of hammer to hit the cloth, like because in China they industrialize. They can produce en masse. So the entire economy of there is Adire from China now. So how do you think local industry can grow? Let's also come back to Africa. A Cote d'Ivoire will produce a good Ankara compared to Nigeria at economic level, scale level.
Yes.
Excuse me. So how can you expect Nigeria to compete? So government must be intentional. Ban. That's why I also have issues with
that too. If you're also looking at ban, you're also going to look at the consumers' pockets, because of the, like for instance, over the weekend this was a story I was discussing with somebody. I said you can imagine now, like we were discussing materials. You go to the market, the yard of material goes to as low as 1,115. Yes, for chiffon this material that you can make beautiful styles with. I said, okay, these ones are coming in from imports. So now, if you want to encourage Nigerian textiles to grow, you want to close the borders. Okay, Nigerian produce. They'll factor in cost of power, energy. They'll factor in infrastructure, VAT, tax, and at the end of the day, it goes beyond the means.
Well, if you look at it,
of average Nigerian to now pay.
To have a good economy, you must all sacrifice. government may only take the lead. How do they take the lead? Is that provide available infrastructure,
Infrastructure.
special power for them, loans, which is not the 2 digits, simple loan that they can handle. Because if you don't ban, infant industry will not grow and they will not develop. It is when you get more money, you invest the more and you do. So that's why my issue with AFCTFA,
Yes,
African Free Trade Area Agreement, Trade Area Agreement. You don't allow influx of things. You must standardize and say, okay, in Nigeria today we agree to this AFCTFA, but don't bring textile to Nigeria. Don't bring shoe.
Okay.
Because an urban man cannot compete favorably with somebody who is in Ghana, I can tell you. Someone who is in Ghana.
You think so? Have you seen products from Ghana?
Not in terms of quality, in terms of cost effective,
yes.
in terms of production.
Yes.
An urban man can produce perfectly. Better one in Africa. But how do you source for funds? How do you get power to work? How do you get infrastructure? If you are getting it at higher level, and that's why we say we must have what is called comparative advantage. What do we have here that we can easily do it? So let's look at it very well. Do you know it's better for you to go buy gold in Ghana than to buy gold in Nigeria? Because the process is different. Thanks to Alake that is trying to make it more viable now. So you must look for a comparative. So which comparative advantage do you have in Nigeria? It's a very big question. The only one you are about to have is what Dangote is trying to do. Because we have oil, we have not benefited any comparative advantage. So these are the things we are looking at. So for us to industrialize in Nigeria, government must be intentional and focus. But with this one, we'll follow up the story and see how.
From what you just said, you said government must be intentional. I like that. But the government is not being intentional about it, because all what the government is interested in is making profit. What do I mean by this value tax? The taxes these companies are paying, and just like the other day, I saw that NITDA it also has a bill that will pay 1% profit from companies to meet that. I said additional burden again to these companies that already said that they are beleaguered with taxes.
Right. I think, like I said, government must look at this sector and make everything work for that sector. That could be tax holiday for 10 years for that sector. There could be, provision of available special power supply for them. Government must be, because if you don't let it grow, I can tell Nigerians are wearing more local dress.
Yes.
Compared to if we are now producing in Nigeria, it will be a very good. But this one is Cote d'Ivoire, it's China, and it's
Ghana. You have Ghana
exactly. So a Ghana man will also use the Ankara to do a kind of their traditional thing, and they are doing, and it must be local. So we must be local. Local content must dominate, and that's how we can develop. At this point in time, we cannot delink again because the world is now global. But you can control and say this one should not come. This one should come.
All right, thank you so much. That's for that. Now we are looking at still on minimum wage. Okay, minimum wage, and this also brings us to the trending story yesterday about President Tinubu going out tough with civil servants that they should return every kobo earned, especially for those that are relocated abroad and still on government payroll.
Whoa.
That is a good one.
This is a good, in fact, it's a breaking news to me. So government has think about it now. Most people are in government payroll and they are not in Nigeria. But that's what actually happened to Yaya Bello when he came. When Yaya Bello came to government, it's discovered that most people are under state payroll and they are not in the state. They are not working. They are only collecting salary. So he decided to publish their names and say, if you truly know you are working here, come, let's do verification. Let us identify you that you have been here. And before you know, you remove thousands of them. And that's one of the things I was calling for, because you wouldn't have money to even actually, serve the state. So if government is looking at this, a lot of people are going to pay, because I can tell you, I know some people that are in the payroll, and even beyond payroll itself, some people will be in government work and do something else, and that's why everybody wants government job, because a job that you can always do a lot of things.
Yes, I know so many people, and some people travel out and said, okay, go for other things. They've just said that they are gone for schooling.
That's how they are. And schooling that will not finish in 15 years. So it's I think it's a good one if you can do that.
And many people are also of the opinion that because the federal government is being pressured to increase minimum wage, So that's why it's going
It's
to
part of it. If that is what they would do to increase minimum wage, it's not better that people that are working actually benefit compared to when some people are not working and taking what the people that are working should be benefiting
So
from.
what do you understand by decentralization of minimum wage things?
Well, globally, if you go to other countries, I think they decentralize it because the capacity is different, especially in a federation
Yes.
like Nigeria, whereby some states are rich.
Like Lagos,
People like
Rivers,
Delta,
Akwa
Rivers,
Ibom,
Akwa
Delta.
Ibom, even Kaduna, Kano, they
Yes,
can
they're
pay
not very.
better. But like Kogi, like Bauchi, like Katsina,
Zamfara.
Zamfara, they cannot pay the same. So I think if they can do that, that would be better. However, government should also still have a benchmark because some states can be very funny. So a 30,000 up to now, some people are still not paying. They are still paying 80,000. So government should say maybe our benchmark for every state is 50,000.
Yes.
So if you now like Edo say
Yes,
I'll pay
it's
70,
paying 70. It has started already.
Lagos is going to pay
70.
it's allowed, but there should be, because if there's no benchmark, some states will not even pay
At all.
at all, and which is not good. These are the things. So I agree with it should be decentralized, but there should be a benchmark.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Now, before we go, the Guardian says CBN stress test forex market reform stops BDC funding. It's a good one.
Well, I think this is policy somersault. Government will bring this, will reverse it, will bring it, will reverse it, and that shows that Cardoso has not really.
Some critics refer to it as a voodoo economist.
Yes, it's cosmetic, if you ask me, because he has not really seen what he's supposed to do. Now, he's going back and forth to really, and now inflation is still not coming down. He's sacrificing Nigerian growth to bring inflation down, which is not correct. Some of us even have actually called him out and said, you are jettisoning all Emefiele plans. You don't jettison all.
Does that mean that Emefiele actually tried? Because during his tenure, he was able to stabilize a dollar.
Look at his INERA. You have stopped INERA. You're supposed to have a Wango card. You have stopped it. So you should look at what he does that is good,
yes,
and the one that is not, But now he's even removing his director, taking everything. No, but even at that, since he assumed office, we have not had a better economy. So I think they need to do more beyond cosmetic approach. Because when he faced BDC, I was in my mind, it's good you reduce them from 5,000 to 1,000. But that you are funding them again, you're not funding them again, is policy somersault, and it gives room for loopholes. That means you have not got it very, very right. So at a point, yes. And he has even bring about over 20 policy. Now, related to economy, over 20. So, and we expect it to have shown in the economy. There was time the dollar came down, everybody was jubilating. Now, it's because what we are doing is not structural, and we have a structural problem.
So what is actually the way forward from what we are saying? Because the economy is not doing any good. Instead, it's just at the standstill, and inflation keeps on is still going up.
Well, I think the way forward is the first problem we have is food inflation. Now, look at this rain that is coming now. Have we actually planned for it? That's another problem. It's going to bring flood, and flood is going to take over, and that will erode the progress of the Nigerian economy. How are we planning for it? That's the question. Meteorologists have said a lot of things. Have we planned for it? Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared state of emergency on food security. Has it actually reflected? Because if he declared it from 9 months ago, we expect there should have been all-round farming. There should have been irrigation. Should have been corn produce now. But was it someone who told me that tomato is coming down? I said,
They said tomato is
that's what he
down.
said. I said, well, that's a good news. But they must be structural, and we must pay this food. How can we have food inflation at 40%? That simply means, and how do we, as a citizen of Nigeria, we spend more money now on food,
yes,
which is not good. So by the time you're spending like 70% on your own food, it becomes a problem because food is very, very expensive now. So I think government should face the structural issue, insecurity. Insecurity is very, very key. Enhance agriculture. Because if I even read that I've spent about 1.6 trillion on Ministry of Agriculture to enhance, and it has not reflect. So all these things should be structural so that it will reflect on the Nigerian economy.
All right, thank you so much. That is our take home cliché or phrase today on today's edition of Inside Nigeria. My name is Jennifer. I've had the pleasure of having company, a political economist, public affairs analyst, Ali Elias. Thank you so much once again
Thank
for
you for having
raising
me.
the rain
Thank you
to
for
come
having
to
me.
the studios today. Well, viewers, this is where we draw the curtain on today's program. Don't forget, tomorrow, same time, same station, is another day. Meanwhile, join us for news on the hour on this platform. See you. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.